When you are approaching retirement, there's a variety of things that should be top of mind. And here, what we really focus on is your income in retirement, more so than your portfolio balance. And here's why. You might hear industry jargon around, you need $1 million to retire. You need $5 million to retire. Maybe you need $500K to retire or $3 million to retire. And to be honest, these are all subjective numbers that really don't mean much to you and your situation. So how much do you actually need to retire? Well, when you think about retirement, everything starts first with your income. So we need to identify what income sources in retirement will we have. Once we've identified those income sources, it is much easier to then identify how big of a portfolio do I need in retirement to properly fund my retirement, my monthly expenses, my annual expenses. So let's start and go through a couple examples here. The first, we're going to assume that in retirement, you just have your Social Security benefit. And let's say that between you and your spouse, you have a combined Social Security benefit of $3,000 per month. So that's $3,000 per month. That's $36,000 per year. And let's assume that pre-retirement, you were making $100,000 a year. And you figured that you need about 80% of that pre-retirement income in retirement. So you need about $80,000 per year in retirement to do the things that you want to do. Well, you have $36,000 coming from Social Security. So you might be thinking ahead of time, hey, in order to retire and spend $80,000 a year, using that 4% rule, I need a $2 million portfolio. And see, in this situation, that's just not true. If we take your $80,000 desired income in retirement and we subtract your Social Security benefit, that combined benefit, we see here that we have $44,000. That is our income gap. We need to make up that $44,000 from our portfolio. Well, if we assume a 4% withdrawal rate, doing the math, we can see here that actually we need a $1.1 million portfolio. If we pull out 4%, we're pulling out that $44,000 a year. If we add that to our Social Security benefit, that $36,000 a year, we get that $80,000 desired income in retirement. So while yes, we might think, hey, in retirement, if I want to spend $80,000 a year, I need a $2 million portfolio. You're looking at this wrong. You aren't first focused on your income. From your income, you can identify the sources and then your income gap. The income gap in retirement is where we will be relying on our portfolio to fund that part of our retirement. So let's go a step further. Let's say that you have some other income in retirement. Maybe it's passive income from a rental or from a business. And let's assume that that income equates to $50,000 a year to you. Now let's assume that you have that $36,000 Social Security benefit, that combined benefit. Well, doing the easy math here, we have $86,000 in income. Now let's use a new hypothetical situation. Let's assume that, hey, in retirement, we want to spend $200,000 per year. Well, if we use the traditional 4% withdrawal rate, what we'd see here is, hey, in order to retire, in order to spend $200,000 per year in retirement, we're going to need a $5 million portfolio. Now, what if we're willing to take out 5%? If we're willing to take out 5%, we can see here that we need a $4 million portfolio. But if we recall, we have $50,000 coming in from our passive income from a rental or from a business, plus that $36,000 Social Security benefit. And so we have $86,000 in income. So guys, here it is important to note that we don't need $200,000 from our portfolio on an annual basis. Rather, we are going to be relying on our portfolio in the amount of $114,000 per year. And if we use the 4% withdrawal rate, we can see here that we actually need a $2.8 million portfolio. And if we are okay pulling out 5%, then doing the quick math, we can see here that we'll need about a $2.2 to $2.3 million portfolio. That's about half of what we originally thought. So guys, the important part of income planning is know exactly where your income is coming from and know what your gap is. What we mean by sources is identify the income that you'll have in retirement, your Social Security benefit, if you have a pension. Maybe it's passive income from a rental or business. Maybe it's part-time work. Identify what are the income sources that I will have. Then identify your gap. That is the difference between that income and the expenses that you will have in retirement. Once you've identified that number, the amount that you're going to need on an annual and monthly basis, work backwards and identify a withdrawal rate that makes sense for you in your situation and how your portfolio is composed to best support that withdrawal rate. When we think about retirement and the position that you'll be in retirement, it is important to remember that we want to focus on our income and not so much our portfolio balance. That is a subjective number. The portfolio balance needed is entirely unique to you and your individual situation. If you like this video, then I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. You can click the link in the description, create your DIY retirement plan, and you too can be on your way in no time with your own retirement planning. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye-bye.